Hey guys, so in this session we will talk about serverless architecture. So what is basically serverless framework? Now coming to serverless frameworks feature, serverless framework builds more and manage less with serverless architecture. You can deploy APIs, schedule tasks, lambdas, event handlers, even SQS and SNS topics using serverless. Then you can deploy both code and infrastructure together. Now the plus point of serverless architecture is you have to manage less and it supports multiple languages. Let's say Node.js, Python, Java, Go, Ruby, PHP and lot more. Now we will see like how we can do the implementation. So basically in this session we will deploy a Lambda function to the AWS using serverless architecture. Okay, so this is my VS Code. Basically this is a serverless folder that I have created, and I will also tell you the steps like how you can do the setup. If you can see this, so basically these are the steps to do the serverless setup. Now don't worry, I will give all the steps in the comment section. Now first we need to install the serverless module by npm. So I have basically installed a Windows subsystem Linux, so that you can run Ubuntu commands as well in your Windows system. So you can use, I mean, you can also do the same steps. You can install a WSL, and you can go to the Microsoft website and do the setup. Let me know if you face any kind of issues. So first of all, we need to install the Node.js using this command. Then we have to install npm using sudo apt install npm. Basically, this is just for to give administration privilege to install those. Then you can also we need to update the Node.js basically. Otherwise, if it is a older version, then you might face some kind of issues. Now, the step 4 talks about how you should install the Python software libraries. Now, you can also use curl command to download the latest version of Node.js. Now you can also use this command to install Node.js as well. Now to check once those Node.js and npms are installed, you can use node hyphen hyphen version npm version to check the version. Now basically this is useful. Let me give. Now, basically, when you try to deploy any kind of application, let's say Lambdas, into a AWS environment, you need to configure those credential for that specific user. I mean, using which user you would like to deploy those application to the cloud. Now using this serverless config credential provider AWS, you have to pass the key name and the secret access key, and you can also set up the profile. Let's say currently I would like to deploy to my environment. I can give some name like test or dev or prod based on my requirement, and the same thing I can configure here. And then I need to install the plugins that I'm mentioning in my serverless file, and then using this serverless deploy, I can deploy to the and specific environment. So you can see over here the profile that I am setting. Based on that profile, I can pass the environment name in the serverless deploy. So basically I'm using this C. This is for a condition so that I can use the AND option and I can deploy multiple files sequentially as well. So that is the main intention behind it. Let's jump onto the serverless YAML file and let's see how what each statement signifies. Now this is a sample serverless YAML file. Now this talks about the service with which name it will be deployed to AWS, the framework version, plugins basically needed as an additional plugins. So there are different plugins. serverless Python requirements, and we have like serverless deployment buckets as well. So to which bucket you would like to deploy. Now we have these patterns. Basically, what it means is anything inside test lambda, inside that I would like to deploy into the cloud. So this is what it means. And if I would like to exclude anything, let's say node modules and virtual environment which will be created at runtime, then I can just add this exclamatory sign just before that. So the serverless will ignore those files, virtual environment, node model. So what will happen if you will if you want exclude them, then the file size will be pretty large. Now this is something different. These are some custom files. Let's say you have a we are just doing some simple implementation, but we have, let's say, external libraries and different environment. When it will be a very much complex project, then we have to mention different resources as well. We will talk in the next videos like what it means, but as of now I'm keeping them simple. And this is also when you have some external libraries, you can use docker desktop, and you can mention dockerize pip to true, and the docker will do the code zipping, I mean package zipping for you, and it will bundle those packets and will install into the your lambda function in the aws. Now basically this is a layer section, but we don't need, but this is just for your information. If you want to include any sdk, like I mean any extra classes or extra code files to your external libraries, then you can mention them and you can zip them in a python.zip. Now this is the provider section where you are mentioning what kind of cloud environment you have, the region, the version of Python, memory size, and basically our default Lambda timeout time is 900 seconds. So that is 15 minutes. Now the deployment bucket is something where which bucket you would like to deploy your serverless service. IAM role is basically talks about your Lambda function, which IAM role you would like to attach to your Lambda function. Now, this is there are two ways. Either you can use an existing Lambda, either you can attach an existing IAM role to your Lambda function, or you can create at a runtime. So you can mention the name and the statements like what kind of access you would like to allow to your IAM role. So accordingly that will be attached. Now this is something like to which VPC you would like to uh, deploy your Lambda function, your security group subnet IDs you can mention. Now basically this is what I was talking some time back. You can create a serverless resource file and serverless commons file. So let's say you have a VPC and you have three subnets. So those details you can put it inside a serverless commons file. And let's say there are different resource like security groups which you would like to create, then that you can mention in the serverless resource file. So that is the main intention behind this, but since this is a very simple one, and just I have just commented this one, and the profile is where you would like to deploy and if you have any kind of environment variable. So if you have redis or some kind of stuffs, the the endpoint details, everything you can mention in this environment section. Now this is the variable section, sorry, lambda function section, where you can define with which name it will be deployed. This name basically, the handler means basically the path of the lambda handler. Since this is inside test lambda, I have written test lambda slash test because the script name is test, and inside this we have a lambda handler. Now basically this is a very simple function, but this is just to give you an idea how we can do the lambda deployment. And if you have any external lambda layer, then I mean if you would like to attach any lambda layer, so you can mention that. This is something we will see in the later section, like how we can refer an extra lambda layer using this cloud formation template. Now again, if you would like to attach any SNS topic to your lambda, you can mention it in this way, like events SNS, the ARN, and the topic name. But we are just keeping them very simple. Now let me open a new terminal and start the deployment. So first we need to, so as I told you, first we need to configure the credentials. So basically the access key and secret access key we need to provide. Then we need to install any plugins, and then we need to do the deployment. But I have already run this step, so I just need to do the deployment. Okay, let me go to the terminal. Serverless deploy hyphen c serverless YAML test. Okay, so basically this will deploy this Lambda to our AWS environment. Now it will take some time. Okay, now my Lambda is deployed. If I will go over here, I can see that this test Lambda is deployed. Let me open this. Let me test this. Okay, you can see that I got the status code as 200 and body is hello from Lambda. Yeah, so this is the way we can do a serverless deployment, and we will see some more complex scenarios how we can deploy a API gateway attached to an Lambda, and we will also see SNS or SQS related operations on Lambda. Those things also we will see in the next videos. Thank you.